This is Olivia. Though she has yet to greet the outside world, she has already completed an amazing journey. This is the moment that life begins. A new human being has come into existence. At fertilization, her gender, ethnicity, hair color, eye color, and countless traits are already determined. She begins to implant in the uterus about 1 week after fertilization. Her cells organize into what we call an embryo. At 3 weeks and 1 day, just 22 days after fertilization, Olivia's heartbeat can be detected. The buds of her arms and legs appear by 4 weeks. She begins to move between 5 and 6 weeks with both spontaneous and reflexive movements. At 6 weeks from fertilization, her brain activity can be recorded and bone formation begins. She can bring her hands together at 7.5 weeks, and separate fingers and toes emerge. She can also begin to hiccup. At the beginning of the 9th week, Olivia will have grown from a single cell into nearly 1 billion cells, and she is now called a fetus. She will suck her thumb and swallow, grasp an object, touch her face, sigh and stretch. At 11 weeks, she is playing in the womb, moving her body and exploring her environment. Her taste bud cells have matured by week 12 but are still scattered throughout her mouth. Her mother will first sense Olivia's movements between 14 and 18 weeks, an event called quickening. Beginning at 18 weeks, ultrasounds show speaking movements in her voice box. Around 20 weeks, with a lot of help, babies have survived outside the womb. At 27 weeks, her eyes are responding to light. She can recognize her parents' voices and will even recognize lullabies and stories. Olivia has gone on an amazing journey during these last 9 months. She will soon signal to her mother that it is time for delivery and greet the outside world.
Right now, the abortion industry is pushing for one of the largest expansions of abortion that America has seen since Roe v. Wade, through the abortion pill. Since the 1980s, the abortion industry has been working on a plan to mass-market self-induced abortions to women and girls through the abortion pill. And now, seeing that abortion businesses are rapidly closing, and fearing that Roe v. Wade will be overturned, they are pushing the abortion pill more aggressively than ever before. So how did we get here? What exactly is the abortion pill, and what are its dangers? Who are the major players behind it? And what can we do now to save women and children? This is the true story behind the abortion pill. The abortion pill regimen is currently approved by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, to be taken up to the 10th week of pregnancy, although the abortion industry openly admits to using it for weeks after that. A baby grows rapidly in the first 10 weeks. Between 5 and 6 weeks, when many women first discover they are pregnant, the heartbeat can be detected, and the baby's lungs and digestive system also start forming. At 7 weeks, the main parts of the eye start developing, and at 8 weeks, brain activity can be recorded. At 10 weeks, a baby is about 1.25 inches long, all vital organs are in place, and the teeth are starting to harden and connect to the jawbone. The abortion pill regimen consists of 2 drugs, mifeprex and misoprostol, taken 1 to 2 days apart. The woman first swallows the pill containing mifeprex. This blocks a pregnancy hormone called progesterone and kills the baby by starving him or her of nutrients. It is important to note that even after a woman takes mifeprex, it is possible for her to reverse its effects and rescue the baby if progesterone is administered soon enough. If a woman continues with the abortion procedure, she will insert the misoprostol pills into her cheeks or vagina. This will cause painful contractions and heavy bleeding to expel the dead baby from her uterus. This will take place wherever she happens to be, whether it is in her home, her car, or in her dorm room. After the child is expelled, she will be responsible for disposing of her dead baby on her own, usually by flushing her baby down the toilet. The woman is likely to see either the pregnancy sac containing her baby or identifiable baby parts. According to the FDA, women can expect bleeding to last 9 to 16 days, while 8% experience bleeding for more than 30 days, and 1% of women require intervention. Between 2000 and 2018, 24 deaths from the abortion pill were reported, most due to infection or undiagnosed ectopic pregnancy. As of 2018, nearly 4 million American children have been killed by the abortion pill, and as of 2017, the abortion pill accounted for 40% of all U.S. abortions. Out of a total of 862,320 reported abortions in the U.S. that year, the abortion pill was used 339,640 times. That's 930 children killed with the abortion pill per day. The abortion pill was developed by French endocrinologist Étienne-Émile Beaulieu. He had been a fellow researcher of Gregory Pincus, an early developer of the birth control pill. And in the 80s, Beaulieu worked as a consultant for the French pharmaceutical giant Roussel Uclaf. It was for Roussel that Beaulieu developed what we now call Mifeprex, though it was originally labeled RU486, the RU for Roussel Uclaf and 486 for the drug's serial number. In 1988, RU486 was approved for marketing in France, but Roussel faced severe public backlash because of opposition to abortion and because Roussel had another moral atrocity already in its wake. Roussel's majority shareholder was a company called Hoechst AG, which had emerged from the breakup of the German chemical company IG Farben. IG Farben was famous for manufacturing a cyanide gas known as Zyklon B, used in the gas chambers of the Nazi death camps during the Holocaust. As reported by the New York Times, IG Farben played so important a role in Hitler's war machine and in the Holocaust that it came to be called the devil's chemist. In addition to developing the gas chamber poison, IG Farben factories exploited more than 35,000 slave laborers, many from Auschwitz. It even built a concentration camp of its own to improve efficiency. Pro-lifers immediately called out Hoechst and Roussel for creating poison to kill babies in the same way it had created poison to kill Jews. And their protests were enough to halt the abortion pill from being distributed in Europe and the United States. However, the French government intervened and ordered that distribution be allowed. The French Minister of Health said that from the moment government approval for the drug was granted, RU486 became the moral property of women, not just the property of a drug company. As has always been the case, abortion's moral atrocities were covered by holding up women as a human shield. Within 2 years, the French government was subsidizing the abortion pill. RU486 was blocked from coming to the United States until January 22, 1993, the 20th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision, when Bill Clinton, on the second day of his presidency, directed FDA officials to bring RU486 into the United States. In 1994, in exchange for product liability immunity, Roussel donated its rights to manufacture, market, and distribute RU486 in the U.S. to the Population Council. The Population Council said its goal is to help achieve a humane, equitable, and sustainable balance between people and resources. In reality, the Population Council has deep roots in the American eugenics movement. Eugenics is the use of selective breeding as an attempt to improve the genetic quality of the human population, either by encouraging populations deemed superior to have more children, or stopping those deemed inferior from having children. The Population Council was founded by John D. Rockefeller III in 1952, and today is funded in part by Bill and Melinda Gates, who gave over $11 million to the Population Council between 2018 and 2020 through the Gates Foundation. A prominent eugenicist named Frederick Osborne succeeded Rockefeller as president of the Population Council. Osborne once said, "Birth control and abortion are turning out to be the great eugenic advances of our time." Like Osborne, his successor Frank W. Notstein was also a member of the American Eugenics Society. His successor, Bernard Berelson, once suggested that if voluntary birth control methods were unsuccessful, the government should place a fertility control agent in the water supply of urban neighborhoods. Alan Guttmacher, founder of the Guttmacher Institute and longtime president of Planned Parenthood and vice president of the American Eugenics Society, sat on the Population Council's first medical advisory board. The Population Council launched the clinical trials needed for FDA approval. But there was a problem. Not one U.S. pharmaceutical company had stepped forward to research or manufacture the abortion pill. This is where the highly secretive Danco Laboratories comes in. Given how effective the pro-life movement was in pressuring Roussel and Hoechst, abortion pill advocates learned that a single product company of confidential investors would be crucial in order to evade public scrutiny and protest. So Danco Laboratories was formed with the explicit, singular purpose of manufacturing and distributing the abortion pill for the U.S. market. In 1996, the David and Lucille Packard Foundation gave Danco a $14 million loan to bring it onto the U.S. market. Other early Danco investors included the Open Society Foundation, founded by George Soros, the Buffett Foundation, founded by Warren Buffett, and the Kaiser Family Foundation. Danco Laboratories was originally chartered offshore in the Grand Cayman Islands, but remains cloaked in secrecy, and to this day the FDA has not disclosed the identity or location of Danco's manufacturer. Danco still refuses to identify its current executives or its investors. In 2000, it was reported that Danco's manufacturer was Chinese pharmaceutical company Hualin, which was nationalized by the Chinese Communist Party in 1949. China's communist regime was one of the first nations in the world to approve the abortion pill in 1988. This is the same regime that imposed a monstrous one-child policy resulting in millions of forced abortions in China. This means that Danco could still be flooding lethal abortion drugs into the U.S. through a pharmaceutical company owned by the Chinese Communist Party. So where are we today? The abortion industry is trying to force the FDA to lift a set of safeguards called REMS, Risk Evaluation and Mitigation Strategy. These require the abortion pill to be dispensed by an approved clinic or hospital. Under REMS, abortionists who are approved to dispense the abortion pill must be able to date pregnancies accurately, usually via ultrasound, diagnose ectopic pregnancies, which can be life-threatening if undiagnosed, provide any necessary surgical intervention, or have others set up to provide such care, ensure women have access to emergency care, and make sure the woman properly understands consent forms. The FDA claims their safety requirements mitigate the serious patient risks associated with the use of Mifeprex, saying that dispensing the drug in broader settings, such as through retail pharmacies, could also expose patients to unnecessary and increased risks. But the abortion industry sees REMS as an obstacle to mass marketing the abortion pill in every store, pharmacy, vending machine, via mail order, on websites, on college campuses, everywhere. The abortion industry tries to convince the public that the abortion pill is safe by constantly citing studies and clinical trials that are mired in conflicts of interest and lack transparency. For example, studies in the pro-abortion journal Contraception, as well as clinical trials conducted by Genuity Health Projects, are both funded by the David and Lucille Packard Foundation, one of the major financiers behind Danco, the manufacturer of the abortion pill. It is a major conflict of interest that a principal investor in the manufacture of the abortion pill would also be funding the studies and clinical trials that seek to show the abortion pill is safe. We can stop these efforts to push the abortion pill onto America's women and girls, educate the public on how the abortion pill kills children and harms women, the humanity and beauty of a child in the first trimester of pregnancy, the possibility of reversing the abortion pill if a woman changes her mind after taking Mifeprex, the real experiences of women who reversed the abortion pill or regretted taking it, and the aggressive push to flood our store shelves with abortion pills.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining this emergency webcast for the city of Las Cruces, the entire surrounding area, really the entire state of New Mexico, to include the borderland of El Paso, Texas, for this really critical update. I'm sorry to come to you. We've got some bad news today, unfortunately, but we also have some good news in response to that. So with that being said, I'd like to open us up in a quick word of prayer, and then we'll move on with everything that we have for you this evening. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together and defend life. We thank you for the sanctity of human life, this beautiful creation of your image being built in this tabernacle of the womb. And we just we ask you for the courage to stand and defend that and answer your call, and especially in the face of discouragement. When we see yet a new challenge ahead of us. But we know, Lord, that where sin prevails, grace prevails all the more. And so we eagerly anticipate answering this call, Lord. And I ask for a special blessing upon all of those watching, for the technology that brings us together, united in your name, and for our guest speakers who are joining us tonight, and for every single one of us who to open our hearts and our minds to be receptive of how you would have us respond to this news. We ask all this through the blood of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. So thank you all for joining us again. My name is Mark Cavalier, Executive Director of the Southwest Coalition for Life. And I would like to thank those of you who are joining. I see several of you joining. We've got some of us I recognize some of these names from Las Cruces. We've got Judith Casas. We've got the Seltzer family joining us. We've got Michelle Thomas. Looks like we've even got from CareNet in Las Vegas, Vicky joining us, and many more. Thank you for joining us. This is a live event. I encourage you to participate in the chat using your Google or YouTube account, or on Facebook if you're joining us there, to ask questions, comments as we go throughout this evening. And just thank you again for joining us. Now, for those of you who join us from Las Cruces, you know very well the story from the City of the Crosses, that in late 2014, we learned of the Whole Woman's Health abortion facility that was opening there. And within just a matter of 10 days, we quickly organized our first 40 Days for Life vigil there. And we saw that the grand opening delayed by almost 40 days, and then the facility did open, and we realized that, if that center was operating full-time, how could we only respond part-time? And so we organized our Coalition for Life, launched that into a full-time nonprofit, and 8 months after launching our full-time efforts on the sidewalk, which was a grand total of, I believe, 27 months after the facility opened, that facility shut its doors and closed permanently. And then since then, we've seen this spark an incredible unity across the borderland region, leading to now that being the first of 3 abortion facilities closed in just over 3 years, between that point in 2017 and 2020. And so that being said, this news it really hit home for me, because this impacts the City of the Crosses, where all of this story started, where our Coalition for Life began, right there in Las Cruces. And so if you saw in the email, that update is, of course, that as much as I hate to say it, there is a facility in Las Cruces. We've actually been keeping our eye on them for a while, and they have been doing, they are now operating as an abortion center in Las Cruces. And I'm going to pull up to show you their site. So this is Full Circle Health Center, and this is located in Las Cruces, and they've been doing, what happened was last summer, they started offering the abortion pill by mail. Okay, and so you can come here and look at their services, and they have all kinds of stuff, including medical abortion services. Now, for a long time, they were only offering it exclusively through the mail. So one thing that we've been keeping an eye on this, but it didn't really make sense to be on the sidewalk, because women were not going there at that time for abortions. However, now they are seeing women coming into the office as well for medical abortion pills. And really, this is what we've been worried about. And so yes, you can look more into Full Circle Health Center. This, if you haven't seen it, this is located right in downtown Las Cruces. And this is catty corner from, oops, I meant to go back to the map view. Here we go. So this is Caddy Corner from like Days Hamburgers, right behind Coas Books. So right there in that beautiful downtown central area of Las Cruces. So obviously, not only do we have an obligation to defend life and respond to this, but especially being right there in kind of our hometown where the coalition started, we want to make sure that we are responding to this and getting out there. So thank you guys again for joining us. We've got Maria joining us. We've got Lynn and many more still popping on. I encourage you to keep commenting as we go. Okay, so that being said, what I want to do is we're very, very blessed. We've got some amazing people joining us today to really talk about. One is we have CAROLE Novielli, who's I had an opportunity to meet last year in San Francisco with Live Action, who is going to be informing us a little bit about the abortion pill, because not a lot of people really still understand really the dangers, in many ways even more dangerous and harmful to women than surgical abortions, and that's something we really, really need to understand. And then on a short notice, I'm really excited too that we just had Janet Morana, who's going to be joining us from Priest for Life and Silent No More, who has a really, really, I think, powerful insights that she's going to be sharing to really help everybody understand how critical this is that we respond. And then we have our attorney, Mike Seibel from Abortion on Trial, who's going to be commenting on exactly how this applies to across the state of New Mexico. And it's because it's something that's not just limited to the city limits of Las Cruces, which is very important to understand. And then finally, I'll be introducing you to our visual coordinator, who's going to be helping us respond to this situation in Las Cruces. So that being said, I'm very excited to invite on our first guest, who is CAROLE Novielli with Live Action. And how are you doing, Carol?
Oh, I'm doing just great. How are you?
Very good, thank you. It's so good to see you again. I've been telling people that when I met you last summer in San Francisco with Live Action, that I just immediately was like, oh my gosh, she's one of my favorite people ever, because I learned so much from you in just such a short amount of time. Thank you again for joining us on short notice for this. But can you help us to understand? Some people might think, okay, well, if they're not doing surgical abortions, they're doing medical, or they're doing it mostly through the mail. I don't really know how to respond to this. Does this, what's the, how bad is this situation?
Sure. And I'd like to just say that the feeling was mutual. I talked about you quite a bit. I've done a lot of work on the streets myself in the past, and I was really very impressed by what you all are doing there. So just want to encourage you guys to keep up the good work. And so what we're seeing with the abortion pill right now is that it is kind of, exploding out there. It's actually predicted to be far more than 50% of what, of all abortions. We don't actually have the numbers yet because, for one, Guttmacher, which does a more thorough job at surveying abortion facilities, hasn't put out a report since the 2017 report that they put out for 2017 data. And CDC, they only reported on 42 areas. They were at 44.3% of all abortions, and they're excluding some of the much larger areas that commit abortion. So we know that it's expanding exponentially. We know that the abortion industry is saying that they're basically terrified that Roe is going to be overturned. And so they're kind of going down a little bit of the same trajectory that they did prior to the Roe versus Wade decision, and during the times of the 60s and 70s when abortion started to become decriminalized, is they're using a fear factor of, there's going to be no abortions. There's only going to be limited states that are going to offer it. So we need to have this, other solution. And they're willing to go as far as to, do it illegally. They're very, very dogmatic, or I don't know what you would call it, like, the word doesn't come to me, but they're very extreme in their thought process. And what's really interesting is the way that they're changing their language. So what we saw like prior to Roe was that they put out all these fabricated statistics about women dying, and if we didn't have abortion, women were going to commit self-abortions at home and they were going to bleed out and die. The only problem is all of those coat hangers and handmaid tales, outfits that are out there and all the drama, they're actually asking their followers not to parade around with those with that imagery anymore, because now they're actually going back in time and they're actually advocating for women to do their own abortions at home, where they could still have some of the same issues. They could still have instances of emergencies, hemorrhaging, infection. A lot of those things are still very, very possible. And so we've been seeing a gradual change, and what the industry and those that are behind the push have been pushing. But it kind of like started to just line up for them during COVID. There were a lot of things that they were working on prior to COVID, and they'll tell you that they rolled out all these things as a solution to COVID. But in truth, we were able to document many of these efforts were being talked about and even beginning to be implemented prior to COVID. And one of those efforts that they sort of rolled out was this like no test abortion protocol that they put out. And so just to kind of give you the backstory, the abortion pill is actually one pill. It's called mifepristone, and it was approved in 2000. And over a course of time after approval, the abortion industry immediately went off label, and they started to do different dosages, different protocols or whatever. And so what ended up happening was women started dying and suffering from these infections. And it was this whole thing of having to send out these warning letters to hospitals and emergency staff, and the manufacturer had to issue these, that led to the abortion pill being put under this system called REMS. And that's a system that's limited to just a few drugs that the FDA puts under this so they can monitor what's going on. And it was put there in 2011. And REMS is an acronym. It stands for Risk Evaluation Mitigation Strategy. And ever since it was put under there, the abortion lobby has been doing their best to get it removed, because under the REMS there are certain regulations. And up until they were the in-person regulations were lifted, and they call them safety requirements more than regulations, women had to go to the abortion facility, the brick and mortar facilities, to pick up these pills. There was a time when women had to actually take the pills in front of a clinician, and that was changed in 2016. And in 2016, the Obama FDA, under Robert Califf, who's now been confirmed as our new FDA commissioner, under his leadership, the FDA actually lifted and started changing where the women could take the abortion drugs.
Mhm.
And so we started seeing this progression towards at home, what they called self-managed abortion. And so they began to do all these clinical trials, and they wanted to be able to like say that they were dotting I's and crossing T's. But under COVID, it just sort of went crazy. And so they developed this no test protocol where women still who had to come to the clinic to get it, but they could make a telehealth call. They wouldn't have to come in. They wouldn't require, basically eliminating all lab work, all exams, all blood tests, which are very necessary for identifying things like ectopic pregnancy. Now, I will say with a caveat that there are groups like American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists that have had the back of the abortion industry, and every time they pivoted, they came along and said, yes, it's perfectly fine to do this, but you're not seeing the woman, you're not having an in-person visit with her. And so they were kind of rushing through these, they weren't even able to see the woman to properly date the pregnancy. And so they had to ask the woman, what's your last menstrual period? And even ACOG's website says, like 50% of women can, date a pregnancy correctly, but that means, maybe 50% get it wrong. And the reason, there's many reasons why that could be problematic. One is that the further along in gestation you are, the higher the percentage of failures of a failure rate from the abortion pill, which could lead to infection, and it could lead to having to have a second abortion, or even a surgical abortion, or additional pills like that. So we know that ectopic pregnancies can be extremely deadly. And if you take the abortion pill, one of the things that I watched several, webinars over COVID with the leaders and different people in the pro-abortion movement talking about how, well, we'll just, deal with ectopic pregnancies after we discover that she's still pregnant, which is a terrible way, to handle things. But, the one way that if you're, if you might have a tendency to have an ectopic pregnancy is if you had a previous ectopic pregnancy, and if they're in any way being fair and healthcare, as they like to call it, they would not give the abortion pill to someone who's had a previous ectopic pregnancy. But the problem is, what happens to that 15-year-old girl? What happens to your daughter? What happens to the anyone listening? What happens if your daughter orders that pill online and it's her first pregnancy? What happens if then she has an ectopic pregnancy? If she's doing what I call the virtual abortion pill dispensary type of purchase, she has no facility that she's familiar with. She's got no medical person that she's had one-on-one contact with. And if she doesn't take a follow-up pregnancy test, and she thinks that she's had the abortion, then she could be walking around with basically in danger of having her the pregnancy cause a tubal burst, and then she could bleed out. So it's a very deadly and dangerous situation that could take place. Not only that, but without labs, you also have the instances of women who might be Rh negative, or they're not getting their blood work to discover what's going on there, and that could put at risk any future pregnancies that they have, and future unborn children could be at risk. You also see, we've also found out that over the course of time, we see where, predators or, coercion takes place some of the times, where women are being coerced into having abortions. And these types of things can be more hidden through some of the telemedicine. I mean, some of them will only do text, depends on what the woman's comfortable with, but video, text, if it's just a text or a form that they fill out and they are not comfortable doing a video conference, and is it really the woman who's asking for the drugs? So there's all kinds of things that can be problematic with going the route of mail order and going the route of the no test protocol. And these things add to the complications. The abortion pill definitely has complications. The actual label of the drug has a black box warning from the FDA, and the latest label is dated 2019, and it says, and I'll read it to you: serious and sometimes fatal infections and bleeding occur, and they say very rarely, following spontaneous surgical and medical abortion, including following Mifeprex. And so on FDA's website, they say that possible side effects are cramping and vaginal bleeding, and in some cases, heavy vaginal bleeding, which you'll need to be stopped by a surgical abortion, and you'll have to go and see someone at a healthcare provider's clinic. And so now we're moving. What's happening kind of with the industry, which is interesting, is they're offloading all of the risk, all of the cost onto the woman. So by this mail order push that they're doing, DIY, self-managed, and even now over the counter is their next step. But they're offloading all of this onto women. And so they're actually having to, tell the women that they possibly will see identifiable fetal body parts. They don't even have to worry about the cost of fetal disposal. And again, some of the webinars that I listened to said, we don't need to worry about the gestational age, even though FDA only approved it through the first 10 weeks of pregnancy, or 70 days. You already see clearly, like on Planned Parenthood right now on their website, it says they'll do the in-clinic abortion. They'll do the abortion pill through 11 weeks, which is already, 7 days longer. And so you're seeing, already they're going off label, they're making these changes. And this webinar I was listening to is like, hey, as long we don't have to worry about an exact, if they're off by, a couple of days or a couple of weeks, as long as the baby will flush, as long as it'll flush, like, as long as it's not going to be so big, it's not going to get down the sewer system into your drinking water. So, I mean, this is the attitude that they have, and it's really concerning how they're minimizing this. They used to say, oh, abortion needs to be between a woman and her doctor, right? Well, then they eliminated the doctor. They're saying any clinician, anyone who can, write a script should be able to do even surgical abortions. Now they're removing the requirement that they're done by doctors. And so the abortion pill right now, even before the change last year, it was pretty much in any state where they would allow non-physicians, as long as you could write the script in the state, whatever the state law was, you could dispense the abortion pill. And so they're offloading all of this, they're making all of these changes. And they're, it's like they're almost like they're going backwards. It's really quite disturbing. And as a pro-life community, we have to be prepared. And I'm glad you're having Janet on, and how we're going to help women afterward. But the good news is that the process of the abortion pill, one of the things it does, and I think I skipped over this, but it's actually made up of 2 pills. One is called mifepristone or Mifeprix, and that pill, what it does is it basically blocks the action of progesterone, which is, naturally a natural hormone in a woman's body, and that will break down the lining of the uterus. And by doing that, it basically denies the child of its nutrients, and the child is basically, starved and poisoned and killed. And so if the woman will then, and we have, in talking to the people with the abortion pill reversal group, they tell us that they're getting calls of women in the parking lot of these abortion facilities immediately having a change of heart. And so there's been 3,000 babies that have been saved by the process of abortion pill reversal, which it's not an absolute promise that the child's life can be spared, but if they get there quickly enough and they haven't taken the second pill, which is called misoprostol, and that's the pill that starts the contractions and causes the bleeding, so the woman expels the child, they can possibly save that baby before, and so there's already been, like I said, there's already been 3,000 that have been saved. They also use progesterone to do that. But the abortion industry, they want everything. They're only satisfied with a dead child. And so they're actually, being very critical. A funny thing is they're calling it an off-label use of an unapproved, off-label use from the FDA, but they don't even talk about how many times, even last year, constantly changing what the FDA has already approved for under the REMS or in dosages that they had even after the abortion pill was approved. So it's kind of hypocritical of them to say that, but progesterone's been used, for a very long time.
Right.
And so it's been very successful. And that's one of the reasons that they're attacking it.
I just thought as you were saying that, I'm going to pull up their website again here. So when you're looking at this, they have this button here, how to use your pills, pictures, which opens this PDF. And here, this is all they tell women. First of all, just make sure you're pregnant. Take a urine pregnancy test. So this is the only prerequisite to, call and getting the abortion pill through the mail, checking your dates. And then they're putting it on the woman to be sure that you do not have IUD, long-term treatment, and an ectopic pregnancy, but they're not telling her what an ectopic pregnancy is or how to check that she's not even having, that she doesn't have that. And for those who might not be aware listening, that's where, the baby implants in the fallopian tube, right, rather than in the uterus. And so it can be a very concerning situation for women. But taking the abortion pill, I've heard that could be fatal. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, ectopic pregnancies can lead to death. They're having a good success rate at stopping, at catching them, before that happens. But as the baby grows, the fallopian tube is not where it's just not going to. It's going to end up bursting, and that can lead to death.
So we have our mobile unit and our pregnancy centers all offering free ultrasounds, and they're not even encouraging or offering that at all. They're just saying, you want the abortion, we'll take your money, we'll send you the pill. Which, I mean, even if for a moment you just set aside the fact that a baby is dying, if you're just looking at this as like, this is just bad healthcare for women. Like, it's totally mind blowing. And then also I wanted to just highlight too, the RH factor thing, because my wife has this where, if you have any pregnancy or miscarriage or any birth or abortion, anything that basically the baby's blood type the woman's body can essentially develop almost like an immunity against that blood type for future pregnancies and cause future miscarriages. And so my wife gets an injection and it prevents that from happening. But if someone has an abortion and they're not getting checked for that, you could be setting her up for a lifetime of grief, of miscarriages, and not being able to have children, and suffering, almost chronic miscarriages after that. And they're not even checking for that or really warning women at all. And I hadn't even considered that until you pointed that out. So I really think, this is kind of an eyes wide shut situation where we've heard about the abortion pill in a lot of situations. We just don't realize really the danger that it truly presents. So
women definitely deserve to have more information. And I know one of the videos that I watched, they actually were talking about how, we kind of like asked this before we went mail order, but we kind of asked the women, do you want to have more kids? I mean, you get a scared teenager in there. What do you think she's going to say? And if they don't want to have more kids, well, then you don't even have to worry about that test, right? Because, I mean, how is somebody going to know 10 years from now? I mean, why would you just go there? Why would you just not give the test? I mean, what we're finding is that, this is becoming more and more profitable. And I think that's why we're seeing, and this is what we saw when abortion came on the horizon with brick and mortars, everybody flooded to take, advantage of this new lucrative industry, including car salesmen and all these other people that just flooded to open up abortion facilities. That's what we're seeing with the online space, is that they're all flooding to do that. And one of the reasons is they've offloaded all the cost. They don't even have to have a facility. They have to have barely any staff. They're already acknowledging they spend very little time with the women. When they say when they go in clinic, it's several hours. But on the phone, it's like the doctor only has to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes. Then the follow-up is very little. The ones that say they actually do a follow-up, of the ones that are actually admitting or saying that they're doing follow-up, they'll say only about 50% of the clients actually respond, which is also concerning because, again, even if you give them a pregnancy test to take at home, if you're not saying, did you take another pregnancy test? Could you still be? Why are we not ruling that out before she goes through the process of taking this pill? But regardless, so one online abortion pill dispensary organization said that their client cost was so low, they were able to give away 60% of their profits to others in the abortion industry, because they were saying they don't want in-clinic brick and mortars to close as a result of these online spaces. They still needed them. Of course you do. If you have like complications from your abortion pill, you're going to need a place to send them. So she's giving away 60% of her profits.
Wow.
That shows you what's, kind of what's going on here.
Sure. Right. Well, Carol, thank you so much for joining us. And I get raptured when we talk, because and I'm tempted to just go on and on, but we do have more to go through. So, but thank you for joining us. And I will continue to reach out and learn as much as I can from you as we go forward, because this is a kind of a new battleground that's requiring some, new strategy to try to approach. So I really, really value working with you on this. So thank you. Thanks
for having me.
All right. God bless. Now, Carol said something that I think is really important to understand, is that, and in our next guest from Silent No More, I think is the best person suited to really speak to that, which is that, and I'll bring Janet on now with Priest for Life. How are you doing, Janet? Are you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Janet. It's a pleasure to meet you. I know we met a little bit through Mike, and so this is our first time actually meeting, but it really means a lot that you jumped on such short notice to this call.
I'm really fine. And what everyone has to understand is, with the Silent No More Awareness Campaign and Rachel's Vineyard, we've gotten testimonies, of women who had the surgical abortions. But over the past decade, now with the RU486 is getting more widespread, the chemical abortion, what we've discovered is they're coming to healing much quicker than surgical abortion. So everyone might be asking, well, why is that? It's very simple. They don't have an abortionist to blame. With a surgical abortion, they don't meet that abortionist, and we know by the testimonies, until they're on the table, feet in the stirrups, and he comes, does the procedure, and out he goes. And so now they hate him, and he did this to me. But now they're at Planned Parenthood or the abortion clinic, and they go in for a chemical abortion. They are the abortionists because they take that very first pill themselves, and they go out with that little bag, and then 2 days later, the second bag pill expels their dead baby. See, the first pill kills the baby. The second pill helps them expel the baby. And Planned Parenthood tells them, oh, it's like a heavy period. It's no big deal. Their bathroom now becomes the abortion clinic because with the surgical abortion, so many of these women, they can't go down the street where that abortion clinic is. They have to avoid it because of the trauma. Well, now what? It's their bathroom. It's their home. It's where they live. They become the abortionists, and their home becomes the abortion clinic. Wow. So their trauma is deeper and greater, and they come to healing quicker. So I thought to help everyone understand now what really happens, I'm going to just, you can go to abortiontestimony.com. We have the largest search engine there for testimonies, and it's all sorted. So if you want to read more chemical abortion, just click off RU46. You can listen, read the testimonies, late term abortion, whatever you want. But I've just pulled out a couple to kind of share. And I have to warn you ahead of time, they're upsetting. But this is in the words of these women. Okay, here's one sample. Patricia from North Carolina, and she writes, the next day at home alone with my infant son, I took the abortion pill. So now her story is here he had a baby, and he was a little guy, a couple months old, and she found herself pregnant again. So she was told, oh, we can't have another baby. You need to have an abortion. So she took the abortion pills, and she says, within 1 hour, I knew that everything the doctor had told me was a lie. I was bleeding so heavily. I believed I was dying. I was passing clots the size of baseballs, and I was in the worst physical pain of my life, worse than childbirth. Now, remember, she already had a baby, so she knew what childbirth was like. The worst part of my experience was when I was sitting on the toilet, and I felt myself pass a clot that felt strange. I looked into the toilet, and I saw my baby. It had a head, a body, and tiny arms and legs. The shame and guilt that I felt at that moment as I was forced to flush my aborted baby down the toilet is impossible to describe. She flushed the baby. Why? Because she was in shock. Oh my gosh. Little tiny legs, fingers, hands, toes. Here's another one. Jessica from Oregon, and she writes, I was in a committed relationship when I became pregnant. The father didn't want the baby and pressured me to abort. I reluctantly took the abortion pill in the Planned Parenthood office. They gave me another pill to take home hours later. I cried hysterically for the hour drive home, wondering, how could I be so cruel to kill my own baby? Not long after I took that second pill, I felt nauseous and lightheaded, and stomach cramps started. I felt so weak that I just wanted to lay down. But I was in excruciating pain with heavy bleeding, and I felt that sitting on the toilet was best. I birthed my dead baby into my toilet. I was heartbroken when I saw that it had tiny fingers and toes. I bled a lot, and the abortion was excruciatingly painful. Almost as painful as my 2 unmedicated full-term births. And I'm just going to give you one more.
I just have one. I mean, because I hear some people in the abortion movement referring to the abortion pill as a so-called natural abortion.
Right.
And this is like the most unnatural. I'm just. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right. So here's just another one, and there's more. Go to abortiontestimony.com. TESTIMONY.com. Dora from Texas remembers feeling numb before she took the second drug, the one that would expel her baby from her womb. I put the pill in my mouth and let it dissolve. Within 10 minutes, I started to feel intense cramps. When the cramps became unbearable, I made my way to the bathroom. I locked the door and experienced the most severe pain I had ever felt in my life. I sat on the toilet and bent over in pain. I grabbed a towel to bind on in order to keep from screaming and was nearly passing out. As I got up, I saw blood everywhere, and I saw parts of my baby, an image I will never able to erase from my mind. I fell to my knees in pain. So, what people have to understand is right now is all these people who are having chemical abortions, they're seeing their babies. Now, you can read more of these testimonies. So some of them panic and flush the baby down the toilet. Some of them are panicked. And I have other testimonies where they kind of like grab into the toilet and scoop up their baby and put it into a little box. They run out and then they bury it in their yard. But they're seeing their child. But the other question really is, all these people that are having chemical abortions, they're expelling their dead babies into toilets and they're flushing them into the water supply all over the country. And all these people that are so concerned about the environment, it's never occurring to them that these babies are now being flushed into your water supply. It's crazy. But these women are so traumatized that they come to healing at Rachel's Vineyard even sooner than the surgical abortion because they're the abortionists, their bathroom is the abortion clinic, and they have no one else to blame but themselves. And so it's terrible. It's horrific. And when you think about it, you can't even where you wake up tomorrow and you have a temperature and you're not feeling good and you think you need an antibiotic, right? You can't even get an amoxicillin prescription unless you go to urgent care, right? Or see a physician, and then you get a script. But yet, these women can get mailed to their home these abortion-inducing drugs and no medical history, no questions asked. This is horrific. And the damage to the women, I'm telling you, every week we're getting more testimonies. Every week they're coming for healing. Every week they're telling us how traumatized they are. And I mean, I don't know what to say other than it's got to stop.
Yeah.
And all these people that are so worried about, the environment, don't you think this is impacting our water supply?
Sure.
And no one's even thinking about that.
Yeah, terrifying.
But it's terrible. And the reason why the abortion industry is doing this is several things. Number one, they can't find enough doctors willing to do surgical abortions. So this is an easy out for them. It's cheap, right?
Right.
They don't have to see the patient even. And with this new FDA, you can mail it that the Biden administration did in December, extend the mail order process. There's no medical history. No one's seeing how you are. What's going on here?
Right.
So, I mean, this is not healthcare for women. This is abusing women, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
And the testimonies, there's so many more, Mark, on our website. Right. I just picked out a couple just to make people understand. They're seeing their dead babies. And for the most part, their reaction is they're frightened, they're scared. So what do? They hit the flush. They flush the baby. And then they regret they did it. Because then they say, oh my gosh, it's my baby. I could have buried my baby. A few have enough, I don't know, whatever. And they scoop up the baby. And they look at the baby. And then they're so scared they don't know what to do. They find a little box or something. They put the baby in it, and then they go out and bury it in their yard. It's horrible.
Well, Janet, thank you for joining us. I'm just I thank you, because I really, really, want people to understand that this is not some, they're trying to pass this off. And even a lot of women themselves are coming in and have an impression that, well, I want the medical abortion because a surgical abortion sounds scarier. Obviously, they're both horrible and evil and traumatic. But the surgical, in many ways, is just, I mean, like you said, it's making a woman her own abortionist, and is just so much,
So
such
see,
a
the guilt
heavier.
mark is totally on her then with the medical abortion.
Hmm.
She can't blame, oh, that abortion clinic did this to me, that doctor did this to me.
Right.
No. I took the pill. I did it to me. So
Right.
so they only can blame themselves. So that's what makes the trauma even greater.
Well, Janet, thank you again for joining us on such short notice, and I really look forward
And I just
to.
wish everyone spread the word about abortionpillreversal.com, because babies have been saved by these women who take the first pill. And Planned Parenthood, you know what the abortion clinics tell them? You have to take the second pill, or the baby's going to be deformed. This is going to happen. They scare them into the second pill.
Totally false.
Totally false.
Totally false.
Totally false.
Janet, God bless you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining
God
us,
bless.
and I look
Thank
forward
you.
to. I look forward when we can meet in person. Okay, guys. So I don't want you to feel this is just, all a full hour of just constant negativity. We do have some good news, but I do also want us to make sure that we understand how this all applies specifically to New Mexico. And for that, I'm bringing on our attorney, Mr. Mike Seibel from Abortion on Trial. Mike, we've been talking about this facility and and it's really opened up all kinds of new concerns and new legal concerns. And I mean, what does this mean for Las Cruces, for New Mexico, I guess?
Well, first, Mark, it means I'm going to be really, really busy for about the next 20 years.
Really?
I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a retirement plan in place. Being a plaintiff's attorney, we'll donate a little bit more money back to the coalition. But more concerning is the amount of damage this is going to cause women in the future. It's going to cause women an incredible amount of damage. Not only the physical, like Carol talked about, the ectopic pregnancies, the pulmonary embolisms, the sepsis. There's going to be death. There's going to be infertility. There's going to be a myriad of lawsuits that are going on that these women need help for. Not only that, they're not warning these women of the emotional distress damage. And people are saying, well, this doesn't happen in New Mexico. This never happens. Well, guess what? Keisha Atkins, her 24-week abortion was an experimental trial by the University of California, San Francisco, and Curtis Boyd on the abortion pill. We have another one, Jane Doe, from your clinic down in Santa Teresa. The abortion pill didn't work. She had her baby at home after, quote, a surgical abortion. We've already got 2 cases here in New Mexico. And they just opened the floodgates wide open by sending this out in the mail. Do you know how many women are just going to be hurt and injured by this whole thing? How are we going to reach these women? How are they going to get justice? They've got to call my office. They've got to, get legal counsel, get a consultation, because they are going to be damaged for a lifetime, if not killed. And we seem to think it's safe. So is it going to affect New Mexico women? Yes, it's going to affect your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your granddaughters, everybody. And this trauma is going to be a lot longer lasting. And there's going to be emotional distress cases. And I would love to bring an emotional distress case. So, I mean, that's just the first layer of things that I can talk about when it comes to abortion. Then there's all sorts of conscious rights for our mailmen, our FedEx delivery people. They're delivering an agent of death to the people out there through the mail. How is that anyone acceptable in our society?
Wow.
And then, the other thing is New Mexico, you and I have adopted a term. It's the back alley of the United States. Well, guess what? We're going to expand that. Right. We're going to go through telemedicine. We're going to send it to other states. Now, some other states don't allow it, like Texas. And if you want me to expand on that, I will. But many of these states are going to allow us to ship those abortion pills. And we're seeing clinics open up daily, like the one in Las Cruces, for these profits so that they can make a quick buck. And they're not caring about women.
Mm-hmm. Someone just asked, it's such, for an example, a woman might be able to just tell this place that they're 11 weeks pregnant, but they're actually further along in the pregnancy. Is there, I mean, I don't see any kind of screening or verification built in. I mean, is there anything to prevent something like that?
No, I think they could go all the way up to 38 weeks, and they could, it's going to be used for wrongful purpose. And I don't think that there's enough education by the abortion industry or by the abortion pill that gives women who are, typically unsophisticated and poor the ramifications and true informed consent on what's going to happen. I mean, they really, Keisha died of sepsis caused by the mifepristone pill, the abortion pill. She didn't know. The doctor never told her. I mean, your client down south, who we call Jane Doe, she had sepsis. How often is that going to happen? I mean, if it's
Right.
already happening here in little old New Mexico, can you imagine this nationwide when we're shipping this out? Now, like Texas, you can't ship into. And if somebody actually hears that women are being shipped abortion pills from Texas into from New Mexico, you need to call Mark. You need to call me. You need to call the district attorney in Texas, because they can extradite them. It's a felony to do it in Texas. So I know that, they're being careful with Texas residents, but are they being careful with Arkansas residents or Alabama residents
Sure.
or, someplace else? I mean,
So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
yeah.
apologize. Well, so like right now they said that they're only mailing to New Mexico addresses, but there's nothing to prevent that we can tell that they'll say someone from El Paso that needs a medical abortion to call and have it mailed to a friend just across the state line in Sunland Park or Santa Teresa and go pick it up from the friend's house or a PO box or something like that. There's absolutely zero verification. I mean, they're still going to be able to figure out all of these types of loopholes. I mean, it just seems like an absolute mess. I don't know. I don't even know what to think about this.
Well, and one of the cases that I think is the most horrific that I've seen here, that I've experienced, is a woman from New York whose boyfriend ordered the abortion pill from Texas. It was shipped to New York. He put it in her food and caused a miscarriage. Now he is currently being indicted, not for murder, like he should be, because New York changed the laws, but for assault and battery. But still, I mean, can you imagine the trauma my client went through in that situation? It's just horrid what's going on. So I need you guys to be the eyes and ears. I need you to talk to the women, not only, the ones outside the clinics, but the ones in your church, the ones in your neighborhood, your family members, and educate them on this, because it is extremely dangerous. And you don't want to come see me. I mean, I don't want to see any of our pro-lifers or anybody walk into my office and says, my daughter's dead. What can I do about it? I'll
Right.
forego all the fees. I mean, I was kidding at first about the amount of money that we can make as lawyers in this situation. But no lawyer wants to have a dead client, especially if they're a friend or a family member. And we just can't let this happen. We have a duty to protect our brother from this evil in New Mexico.
Well, Mike, I'm eager to let everyone know what we're going to be doing about this. So thank you for joining us. I know you're traveling right now and joining us from a hotel, I believe. So it really means a lot that you make the time.
Yeah, I mean, not the best lighting, but what webcast with you without technical difficulties?
Oh, right. It's fun, but which like the
Would be
music in the
any
beginning
fun
on the
in this
background. I'm
situation.
sorry about that, guys. So, okay, Mike, God bless you. Thank you so much. I look forward to.
God bless you, Mark.
All right, God bless. All right, so somebody actually brought up a good point and said, "How is it that we're warning the younger generation about this new threat, this new abortion? Is there going to be any education about this?" And so to get started, what we're able to do immediately in response to this particular facility is we, of course, are going to be launching a 40 Days for Life vigil. This is what we have seen worked, right? We started this in Las Cruces. We had 5 campaigns. Our 5th and last campaign, we saw every single hour filled from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in an unbroken chain of prayer, nonstop for 40 days straight. And the facility just shut down a few weeks later. Okay, so we know that this works. In fact, 40 Days for Life, at the moment, we're getting ready to enter on Ash Wednesday, March 2nd, what's going to be the biggest spring campaign in history of 40 Days for Life around the world. There have been now over 20,000 babies that have been spared from abortion by moms choosing their life. And those, again, are just always the ones that we know about. And there's been 114 abortion facilities close. And of course, we've seen 3 of those happen in our region in just the last few years, and over 229 as of right now, abortion workers who have quit and converted because of this process. So we are going to be launching now a 3rd vigil location, which is back to Las Cruces where we started. But we're coming. We've done this before, right? And we're back. We're not going anywhere. And so I know the Las Cruces community, because you guys were the spark that launched the Southwest Coalition for Life and all the incredible stuff that we've been seeing. And so we're going to be back even stronger than ever before. We're more organized than we've ever been before. We've got more support, more prayers than we've ever had before. So now we need your help. And for that, I'm really excited to introduce to you our vigil coordinator, who's going to be helping us in Las Cruces for this. Let me find. I want to introduce her in just a minute, because I do want to. She's got a great story. So when we started our first 40 Days for Life campaign in fall of 2014 in Las Cruces, when this whole women's health opened, there was a newspaper article actually about all these protesters, against this new abortion clinic. And on the front page of this was, you can see on the left here, abortion clinic draws protests, and there's a picture there of an 11-year-old girl holding this sign that says "Pray to End Abortion." You can see her on the right. Well, 7 years have passed, and I can see her video right now. And you can't. She's laughing. She didn't know I could do that either. But anyway, so 7 years have passed, and that 11-year-old girl has last year joined us as one of our sidewalk interns, and she is now back to lead the community that she grew up on the sidewalk with in this 40 Days for Life vigil. So I'm excited to introduce to you the 40 Days for Life vigil coordinator for Las Cruces is Miss Valentina Casas. How are you doing, Valentina?
Good. How are you?
Good. I didn't embarrass you too much, did I?
No, it's okay.
Well, thank you. I'm just so excited. I really, truly am. I remember praying with you and your whole family out there on the sidewalk, and it's always so beautiful. And just seeing you now on the sidewalk, and if some people might remember, you had the story with Paulina from the banquet, who was the first mom that we had choose life on our mobile unit. It was because Valentina was there to talk to her. And now you're coming
first.
What's that?
I didn't realize she was the first.
Yeah, she was the first mom to choose life in the mobile unit, and that was for you. And so, and now you're coming back into Las Cruces and helping to lead this new campaign. And to me, that gives me so much hope and inspiration, in spite of everything we just talked about, just to see how incredible God is. I'm trying not to get choked up. So I'm going to hand this off to you at this point. Can you tell folks a little bit about how this is going to work in Las Cruces and how they can sign up to be a part of it?
Okay, well, obviously you told them where the clinic is, first of all, and fortunately there's public parking right behind the hamburger shop. So all they would have to do once they sign up is to park there, go across, and then there's a very large sidewalk where they can stand and pray and do their devotions, the rosary or Bible readings, whatever they prefer. And to sign up, you text 40, capital D, capital F, capital L, to the number right there on your screen. And then another text will be sent to you with information to fill out, and then you'll be signed up for 40 Days for Life.
That is awesome. So just make sure everybody heard that again. So we've got texting 40 DFL to 915-800-2175. Now this number is specifically for the Las Cruces Vigil, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If you were planning on signing up for Planned Parenthood or Santa Teresa, that would go to Rebecca.
Okay.
And she's taking care of the other vigil sites.
And that number for anyone joining is it's the last 3 digits are the only thing different. You text the same code to 915-800-2580. And then you can sign up for the other 2 vigils in El Paso and in Santa Teresa. But that first number for now, we've only got little less than 2 weeks before this campaign. And I know, Valentina, you're already working hard to start filling those hours.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, if anybody, we are still looking for church ambassadors and day captains. So if anybody's interested in doing more than just giving an hour or 2 on the sidewalk, again, you can add that. You can add a little note to your text, and then I'll contact you for more in depth on that.
Very good. Well, I got to tell you, a lot of people are really excited, Valentina, to see you helping with 40 days. They're saying welcome, praise the Lord, Valentina, warrior for Christ. People are super excited, as am I. And so I have no doubt that all these people are going to really rally behind you to help fill those hours. And I'm begging you guys, take this video as soon as the link to this, share it, send it around, because we've got just a few days. And we all have to help Valentina fill all those hours. We need two people per hour from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So 24 people will fill a whole day. And then you sign up for a weekly commitment. And so so if you sign up for Mondays at 8 a.m., you do Mondays at 8 a.m. for the 5 Mondays of the campaign. And that's all we're asking. And you'll get a t-shirt, right?
Yes.
Okay. Very good.
Where you get a t-shirt.
All this is awesome. So yes, make sure that you. Oh my gosh, you're a superstar. Look at this, everybody.
No.
So okay, so everybody, I'm going to leave that number on the screen. Make sure you text that number, and you should already be hopefully getting lots of messages right now as we speak from all these people. Did you? Good.
Yes.
Let's send her another one. Somebody text her right now, and then spread the word. Do your part. Contact Valentina. If they call that number, does it go to you as well?
Yes, you can call or text that number.
Okay, perfect. And then generally, I don't have it up on the screen, but we do have a 40 days at Southwest.life email, which will go to the entire 40 days team for all vigil locations if anyone has any questions. And so we're going to be out there. And this is this biblical model that we have seen work and close so many abortion centers in just such really short time, really. And it's by coming together in prayer and fasting, because scripture says that there's some evil that can only be driven out by not just prayer, right, but prayer and fasting. And it's coming together in that peaceful presence there, which is so important. And to answer that question that I had indicated about education, part of this is we're having some special signs designed for this vigil site, and they're also going to work in Santa Teresa, that are going to reach out to women to educate them about the abortion pill, and they're going to point them to resources about learning about the abortion pill, including the abortion pill reversal, and also that legal support to say, have you been hurt by the abortion pill? Because a lot of women think they're the only ones, and they're not. And there's so many that have. And so if we start letting them know, have you been hurt by the abortion pill? They're going to realize that they're not the only ones, and that they can reach out and get that help. And so I think this is going to be game changing. And but everybody please pray for Valentina, because she is not going to be a favorite person of Full Circle Health Center. I can tell you that right now. So
no, they're probably going to hate me.
Okay. Any last requests or anything from everybody before we head out here, Valentina?
No, I think everything's covered. Just lots of prayers, and please, just 1 hour a week, it would help so much. Just one.
Absolutely. All right. God bless you, Valentina. Thank you so much for your incredible work.
Bye.
All right. Bye. All right, folks. We're back. 40 Days for Life in Las Cruces is back. It's we'd hoped it wouldn't happen, but it did. And so we're going to respond, and we're going to respond in love and joy. And we're going to be out there to spread that joy and love of Christ to others, to women. So if you're in the area of 40 Days for Life, text that 40DFL to 915-800-2175. And then you should get a message with all the information that they need. You can also, I think down below this video, there's a couple buttons if you're watching on the event page at Southwest.life. There's a couple buttons that make it easy to send that text or send that email. And we've got to do this. We've got to have that unbroken chain. Some of you now, yeah, that's right. Back again, people. We're back. Okay. There's a lot of questions coming in. We're gonna Valentina, we're all gonna be working hard. One thing we forgot to mention. I'll just talk about it now. I forgot to mention it while Valentina was still on, but we will be also having, spread the word about this. We will be having a special Las Cruces kickoff prayer rally on Saturday, February 26th. So this is just about 10 days away. And this is going to be at 1:00 p.m. outside of the Full Circle Health Center on the sidewalk at that location. Okay, so this is going to be the campaign doesn't officially start till March 2nd, but we're going to come together as a group to really rally people, get people jazzed. So this is an opportunity for you who are watching to now spread the word, take this information, and invite people to that event. And those people who come are going to help fill in any empty gaps that we've still got. So So text that number. All this is going to be available on replay. Share the emails. We're going to send this out again. Yeah, this is going to be a good event. Invite your pastors, invite your priests, invite your clergy, your groups, Bible study groups. Spread the word. Okay, this is how we did it, and this is how we got that other one closed in 2 years. It wasn't just the people organizing. The people organizing helped smooth it out, but you went out and spread the word, and every campaign had a snowball effect and got bigger and bigger and bigger. One question I had is that what if you're already from Las Cruces and you're signed up to pray in Santa Teresa? That's up to you. I would encourage you, if at all possible, to sign up for a second hour and pray for 1 hour in Las Cruces and maybe 1 hour in Santa Teresa. But I like this comment here. That clinic doesn't stand a chance. I'll tell you what, Las Cruces is the city of the crosses and has been a spark that has fanned the flames of so much pro-life unity across the borderland. And there's cities all around the country who have called to say, how the heck is Las Cruces and the borderland doing what they're doing? And it's because of you guys. It's because of what you've done. And so this is your opportunity. So, okay, we're at the end of our hour. Oh, but to finish that thought, if you're signed up for both vigils, please feel free, though, if you're only able to do 1 hour a week, that you can call. We'll understand if you say, you know what, I was signed up in Santa Teresa, but I want to switch it to my local community in Las Cruces. Totally fine. But if possible, consider doing 1 hour at each location. And you're also welcome to do more than 1 hour a week. But we are looking for those weekly commitments to be a link in that unbroken chain of prayer from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And spread the word, bring people with you to help fill those hours and get their information to Valentina. So that being said, God bless you guys, and please keep all of this in prayer. It's odd that in the face of so much, bad news, I'm really excited and I'm really hopeful, because I've seen the body of Christ, I've seen the city, I've seen this region come together, and I've seen what God can do through that. And I'm just excited to see him do that again and work through you. So thank you guys for being here. Yeah, definitely. Show up by the hundreds at this kickoff. Yeah, we've got a little over a week to spread the word. We want to have a big crowd out there, and that's going to set an incredible tone moving forward. So that being said, send that text message 40DFL to 915-800-2175, and God bless all of you, and have a wonderful night. Spread the word, share the video. Have a good night.